today we're gonna drive down the road that I used to go down when I was a little kid. Got a big Peterbilt 359 or 379, and we used to haul plastic pellets for first it was Slay and Monsanto, and then Bayer bought them out, and those plastic pellets that we would haul would make things like these bezels or taillights or plastic pieces inside cars. My grandfather, who's my mom's dad, he had a trucking company and had about 25 trucks, and he grew that company while I was alive. So I was born when he was right around 40 years old, and he just divorced his wife and he started over. And he created this business he just had a couple trucks in the beginning, and then he got more and more trucks. And this road right here, you can imagine a loaded semi or even an empty semi, either way, as far as the trailer is concerned. But this road and these turns, he used to take them at max speed, and probably drove a lot faster than he should have. And then my stepdad, who my mom ended up remarrying when I was a kid, when I was real young. There's a deer. He was a fast driver as well, extremely fast, and always drove Corvettes and Ferraris and cool cars. And I used to sit on the center hump or sit in the back of the Corvette, or sit on the center hump of the Ferrari 328. And this was all when I was very, should have been in a car seat almost, real small. And my mom, since she was a single mom early on, I'd always spend time with my grandfather, her dad. He was like my dad. And then in the summertime, I'd come over. Once I started going to school in Ohio, kindergarten, K through 12, I would always come over for summer break to my grandfather's over here. See these turns right here. He used to go around these at max speed in a semi truck to where you thought you were going to flip over. And his business shut down after 9/11. 9/11 took him out because the logbooks and everything. See, the trailers had to be washed out. They're these big hollow aluminum trailers. They have to be washed out after every load, because if there's even one red plastic pellet and then you haul white plastic pellets next, then that would put a big red blotch inside of a mold that was made out of white plastic, or vice versa with black or any other color. And there's all the different kinds of plastics, not just the different colors, different kinds. And they'd pour those pellets into these heat molds, then they'd make whatever. And but I've been up and down this road, when I was a kid, more times than I could count. And then I used to go into, I'd get back in the back bunk and hide, because you're not supposed to have anybody else with you in the truck when you go into the plant. And I remember I used to have to pee in like a soda jug, but I always have to pee because I was a little kid. And my grandfather was always stopping and grabbing ice cream. We did not eat healthy. And a lot of good times. But this is the first high-speed windy road that I remember. And anyway, I started to explain 9/11 shut his business down because the tank wash that he built a tank wash where he could wash out multiple trailers, this big barn basically on his property. And it's about an hour from Cincinnati, where the plant is, where you actually pick up the plastic pellets. And I don't fault him for this, but hindsight, had he built the tank wash up here instead of all the way up at his property, he would have been able to stay in business. But the issue was, it became a logbook issue as well as fuel price issue to be driving back and forth all the way to the plant with the clean and dirty trailers. Okay? It'd be nice just to be able to drop the trailer and then bobtail home. So when I was in high school, I was really smart in math and physics and stuff, and my grandfather over here, he's very mechanically inclined, but he was not a studious person. Like, he didn't go to college or anything. He was self-taught, but he was very smart, but he didn't understand physics. You try to have a chat with him about physics and he'd get a little bit lost sometimes, but he had real world physics understanding very well. And he's the one where I say he's probably like half autistic or whatever, which isn't the end of the world. I mean, Elon Musk is probably on the spectrum. I'm probably on the spectrum hindsight as I look at everything. It's really made sense out of my life. And he was really against me getting a higher education. But I would go to Purdue, the local branch of Purdue, and was studying mechanical engineering, and I had straight A's. And then I got my motorcycle wreck and I never returned. I had an internship with Lockheed Martin out in California after only a year of Purdue, which is a big deal because they don't give out internships to freshmen usually, and I got an internship because I designed this aircraft that literally had, if you took the Starship that Elon Musk invented, these guys with the thrust vectoring, how it takes off vertical and then can land. I invented a similar aircraft, but it was shaped like the nose of the SR-71, like a blade, so it was actually stealth. And it steered using the thrust vectoring. So it would fly through the sky, and the shape of the body was the wing. And it had these retractable legs that I still think are better than anything Elon Musk has on his rocket ship. They just make more sense the way I did them, but neither here nor there. Lockheed accepted me, and I was supposed to go out and work at Lockheed, and I never did because I got my motorcycle wrecked. And then 9/11 happened. Right after high school, 9/11 happened, and the whole time I knew that 9/11 it was not on the up and up. I knew there was more to it. And so I just never moved forward because it was against my conscience, because I grew up with little small town people in the middle of nowhere, Indiana and Ohio, and I knew that it was joining the evil team to go against the people who I was friends and family with. And I don't know, hindsight, would I probably go work for him now? Yeah. If I had it all to do over again. Because instead, I started devising ways to free the masses from the cloaked dictatorships, because I could always see it. I could always see the games and see what was going on. But we, humanity, we're like deer. We have to be kept in check, our populations. I encourage you to watch the video about the wolves being reintroduced to Yellowstone and how it fixed Yellowstone, just the presence of the wolves. And I really worry that that's what the situation is with humanity too, that if you get rid of the world leaders, life isn't going to be ultimately better. Life could come to an end very quickly if there's not somebody there to keep the weapons in check and play the games that they play where they keep super weapons away from the masses. So, anyhow, stepdad's father, he was the world record holder on water. He used to race the Budweiser boat and the Chrysler Queen. He met Nixon and Kennedy a couple times because he won the President's Cup. And you'd go meet the President of the United States, who'd give you a big trophy. So I definitely grew up in the presence of 3 different speed demons, all on their own accords, all on their own route, in their own right. They're very fast. So supposedly my biological father, who I've never met, but I've talked to his mom on the phone. It's a long story, but he was a speed demon as well. Loved fast cars. We used to fly around it. I remember it vividly. And my grandfather had a son who was my mom's younger brother. He's a speed demon too. So I know most guys are, but our family really took it serious. He's out there photographing. So then up here is Brookville Lake. We're in the town of Brookville. We're coming into the town of Brookville. And so Brookville is downstream of the lake. So if the dam ever broke, Brookville would be washed away. And so I used to come down here to get tractor parts for Ford, or if we had to get New Holland parts or John Deere parts, I'd go to another town. It was about a 20-minute drive to go get parts. And we were always busy because we were always baling hay and doing other things on the farm. My grandfather had a 300-acre ranch, and over 100 acres of it was in alfalfa Timothy hay that the horse racers and horse breeders of Kentucky would buy off of a broker who used to come up and buy off my grandfather and then take it back down to Kentucky. And so now we're in the little town of Brookville. So there's a little place called Dairy Cottage. We'd always stop there and get ice cream and food. We never ate healthy. We ate so unhealthy. It wasn't until freshman year of high school that I really started getting in good shape. I started playing lacrosse and running, and my lungs were always messed up, and I couldn't breathe. I'd always get cramps, and then finally it was like Forrest Gump one day. I could just run 8 miles. I had like this barrier I broke through, and then by the time I graduated high school, I was in really good shape. I could run for a long time, and I was fast, and could run backwards, run karaoke's. I'd run with my friends who ran cross country. I could keep up with them. And then I got my motorcycle wrecked and got nerve damage in my left leg. But I'm glad I got into shape first before that happened, because otherwise I'd be a fat So anyway, Brookville Lake, we'd always go there every summer, and we'd go there often, like every other day. We're at the lake when I was real young, and my mom's oldest sister had kids who were my cousins, who were all older than I was, and so I was the youngest in the beginning. Than the oldest. So there's Dairy Cottage. Go there and get ice cream or pizza or cheeseburger. And the other place that's where we used to always go when we go to the lake was called Jay's, and that was in Liberty, Indiana. So right now we're at the foot of the dam almost. And what's funny is the movie Rain Man, where they were in the little cottages when it was raining, was filmed just down these roads. Just down these roads is where Rain Man was filmed. With Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman. Actually seeps. You'll see where the grass is greener than other areas where the dam seeps. But the lake's about 100 foot deep at the dam. The hill to get on level ground with the lake. So now the road's pretty boring. It's a straight road. But that part back there. And there were other places too where we used to go down. Look at these guys. I'll tell you what, people in this area are kind of oblivious sometimes. You know what? Things kind of happen for a reason, because if I would have gone straight out to Lockheed or straight into the CIA or anything like that, I would have been a whistleblower big time. I was a huge goody-good. I mean, crazy goody-good, because that's how my grandfather was. My mom's dad. He was always criticizing everybody, and I emulated him because I respected him, because he was the hardest worker I knew and built a business from scratch. Even my stepdad's side of the family, they didn't build the business from scratch. Their Their grandfather did, but they didn't. So super small town, and my grandfather was friends with anybody who had any equipment or, tractors, bulldozers, stuff like that. A lot of people worked for my grandfather over the years. So his place was like a little, business, people coming and going. We had this Rottweiler named Pudge who was massive. He was 160 something pounds by the time he was 3 years old. He was just solid muscle. And he had long back legs and long legs in general. He was more built like a lab almost, but a big muscular like lion dog. His head, like a bear. His head was huge, but he had a longer nose. He was a beautiful dog. My grandfather just always wanted to do the opposite of what everybody else wanted to do, so they wanted to breed him. My grandfather wouldn't let anybody breed him, which is a real shame because it would have started like a whole new breed of not German Shepherds, but Rottweilers, because this dog looked like nothing you'd ever seen before. He just had unlimited food. My grandfather just had a healthy dog food available to him, and he would just unlimited food. It was just always poured into a big 5-gallon bucket, and he could just come and eat food anytime he wanted. And then he'd run around and do what he wanted to do. He could sprint really fast. We clocked him at over 35 miles per hour when he was like 2-3 years old. He'd go into like cheetah mode, like a whole different gear, where his back legs would come up through his front legs and he would just completely stretch out. He's a really fast dog. He actually hunted deer. He could catch deer. He'd chase them through the forest and get them and rip their back legs off and bring the back leg back, and then a few days later he'd bring he'd skin it. He'd try to pull it up, and he couldn't pull it up, so instead he'd skin it, and he'd bring the whole hide back and run around with the hide on top of himself like an Indian, and show off that he caught the deer. He was something else, man. He was just, I've never seen another dog like him, to be honest with you. So I've just had a really rich life. I could tell story after story, but then what was weird was everything that could go wrong started going wrong with just everybody around me, my family, everybody, just finances, everything just started collapsing, and everybody was in a really bad mood. And I was calling them out about the mistakes on my mom's side of the family and just different things and whatever, and then my stepdad's side of the family, they just didn't want to split the pie with me anymore, and I was never asking for a big piece of the pie. So I was trying to bring more to the pie with my websites and inventions, and then that's when it kind of became evident that there's more to this destiny that I have than meets the eye, because these websites, once you see what all they do, it's something else. It's technology that eBay and Amazon and everybody are going to have to license to stay relevant. So, anyhow. So I made a deal with myself. I said when I turn 40 years old, I'll release all my websites. Well, I'm 41 right now. And when I was in my late 20s, I made a deal where it was like, I'm just going to wait to release this stuff, because who knows what else I'll learn. And I knew it was going to cause trouble, these websites. I knew that there were going to be certain world leaders in really high places in the intelligence agencies and on Wall Street and different things who would really hate my websites and what they do and what you teach the people. And so instead of go up against the world leaders and get killed when I'm in my late 20s, I said, you know what, I'll live a little bit of life first, and maybe I'll learn some more along the way and change my mind about what I want to release. And maybe I'll become more wise and realize that there was an issue with what I was going to do. And I've mentioned it before, and I'll say it again, my initials being lowercase BBB was always my symbol. That really kind of became a bad coincidence. That really spooked me. Says we're going to see some deer here in a second. To the lake with a truck. He had this old Ford, like, big car, you know, like from like the 60s and 70s, like with this big car with a motor in it, a hopped up motor, and it had air ride adjustment in the back where we had to add air and it had bags in the back so it could pull the boat. So he had this cool red convertible Ford that had a white top. And then the boat was red. It was pretty slick. So we used to have to pull up these hills with the car. So after a long day at the lake, we'd stop up here at Jay's and we'd go get some food. Going to the lake and going to down to the plant for the plastic that then we would haul all over the country. This side of the Mississippi mostly, but I didn't usually go on the long trips. I just go to Cincinnati and back. Grandfather would have to go to Cincinnati to when all the other drivers were busy, then he'd have to drive. In the beginning, he was driving all the time, and then he finally got enough guys that he didn't have to drive all the time. But then once that happened, then he became a farmaholic on his ranch with the tractors and baling hay and clearing the forest and moving dirt around, just always working. So I was always on big machines from the time I was very young. on go-karts. That was the other thing we do. We'd come back from the lake and we'd race around on the go-karts, but they tore out the go-kart track. There's some sort of a liability or something. After 9/11, everything just chilled out. This used to be a really busy area, and not really busy, but people had money. You know, people could go out and enjoy themselves. After 9/11, it destroyed this area. It really messed up the economy, and it just never recovered. Just have a lot of drunks and losers now. If they're not on drugs. Subway up here, my grandfather had the opportunity to open it, to be the franchise owner, and he didn't do it, which is fine. I'm not sure how profitable it is, but anyway, so there's a Subway up here. And then the other place we always go is Pizza King. Subway, and then you've got the Liberty Restaurant, which is where you go to eat breakfast. And people just drive their John Deere Gators around in town. Now, Liberty Restaurant wasn't around when I was a real little kid. It didn't come around till later when I was a teenager. Liberty Bell. And then you got the regular Liberty Restaurant. Now, Small World, the guy, what's his name? Man, I'm getting old. I can't remember anything. Damn, what's his name? I can't even think of his name. The guy who invented the Audi diesel race car that won the Mans, and it had the rear end that could swap off the car real easy. The whole transmission and rear axle would come off the car real easy, and they could put on another one real fast. He comes here and eats breakfast, and he drives his cars around on these back roads. So these roads are, and Jay's is over there. That's where we'd go to get the ice cream, and it's always packed. I'll show you. It's like the place everybody goes in town. Now, Pizza King used to be there inside the Shell station, but then they moved to their own building. But and that used to be the drugstore, but it's closed. That wasn't the original supermarket that's bigger than what it used to be. They built that one in a different spot, but here's Jay's. This is the spot. Everybody comes here, and then they call your number. They used to have these spring-mounted animals that you jump on and ride on when you're a kid. And then that one is Connorsville, and some good people live out that way. Some master welder guys who can build just about anything, and some other guys who built big golf courses all over the country, who coincidentally built golf courses in Dublin, Ohio, Tartan Fields, where I'm also from. And I still haven't thought of the Le Mans winning guy's name yet. That Mexican restaurant didn't used to be there. It's been there for a while, but that wasn't there when I was a kid. This is the newer Pizza King. This has been here for over 20 years. So I used to eat there every day. Work on the farm and go to Pizza King and get some lunch, or go to Jay's and get some lunch. This place didn't come along until later. The one thing I didn't do is I didn't get in cop chases over here because it's too small of a town. Everybody knows everybody. My grandfather told everybody I could outrun the cops, so everybody knew if anybody was outrunning cops, it was probably me. So I just never really did it. I might have been in a couple, when I'd come to visit. But in general, when I was living here, I didn't used to do it. But we could drive as fast as we wanted, because you get on these roads like this one here. So there's the golf course. That my grandfather's got land that butts up to the golf course on the other side. But I really feel like the whole 9/11 thing messing up my family, and then me, messing up our family budget on our business and messing everything up. Because he was making like $1 million a year. He had a good business and was doing well. That all just came to an end. And of course, people get grumpy when they lose everything. Had to sell all his trucks. I see what's happening. Damn. So the person who owns this corn right here, Ray Nolman, he's a super farmer. He buys up all the property in the county. My alarm's going off. So I could drive you down the gravel road that I grew up driving up and down, but if I did that, my brakes would be squeaking forever. Let's just say that this gravel road right here, I learned how to drive on that. Those of you who say you need to be careful on country roads, you're going to kill yourself, understand something. I would have died a long time ago. I was driving around on these roads before I even had a driver's license. And the gravel ones, they're real gravel. It's the whole road is just stone. It's not just stone on top of pavement, it's gravel. So it was like a big drift track. Because the semis would go up and down the gravel road, so they had it really well packed and they had it really wide. Because the county would come out and add more gravel all the time, because the semis would pack the gravel down into the mud, so they didn't have to add more gravel. More, not gravel, but more stone. So the gravel road was as wide as this, and so every turn you go around, you're in a drift. And we used to pass each other. My grandfather was fast. He was always drifting around, and I copied him, And everybody always thought we were all going to kill each other, but somehow we all managed to never do so. Corvette will get bottomed bridge. I've bottomed out vets before because the road crowning is so severe, and you catch air as you go underneath this train track bridge, and when you come down, the bottom of the car hits. So you got to take it easy through here. That could be an airplane over there, but it could also be an orb, because I used to see them out here. It's probably just an airplane, but it's worth a look. See, we're not far away from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I definitely, with the best friend as a witness in the car with me, I definitely saw a UFO that was cloaked like Predator coming north out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base across I-70. You could see it, but you couldn't see it, and we chased after it as long as we could, and then we both lost sight of it at the same time. But it was like the movie Predator. It's like you could see the outline of it, but you couldn't see it. And it was broad daylight. We were on the way to a Ohio State football game in Columbus, Ohio. We were coming across there by Dayton, and just north of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base on I-70, and it went right across the highway. You could see it, but you couldn't see it. And so this is the path I would always take to get back across to Columbus. And I would fly down these roads. Catch air up here on this intersection. You catch air if you're going fast enough. You don't want to go faster than that, what we just did, so you always got to hit your brakes and slow down a little bit. Video, huh? Up here in the next town, there's a bank that Al Capone shot up, and they left the bullet holes on the outside as a historic thing. But you know, we're in southern Indiana here at the Ohio border on the way to and from Cincinnati, and Al Capone and his dudes used to drive through this town and shoot up the bank. Grandfather bought that property. I actually lived just north of here, actually, when I was real little. But anyway, that's enough for tonight, huh?